So are you saying that with Christianity comes peace? Yeah?
So, ladies and gentlemen,
What about the Crusades?
the question was,
What about the Crusades?
and if you interrupt the answer, you'll find that you don't get to ask another question. The question was,
Alright.
am I saying that with Christianity comes peace? No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm saying with Christ comes peace. But then the question was,
Okay.
what about the Crusades?
Yeah.
So let me answer that directly.
Answer it.
The Crusades were launched after 7 centuries of constant Islamic aggression. Before the very first crusade was launched in 1095, Muslims had invaded the following Christian lands.
Say last.
They had invaded Christian Syria, Christian Jordan, Christian Palestine, Christian Egypt, Christian Algeria, Christian Libya, Christian Morocco, Christian Portugal, Christian Spain, Christian France, Christian Sicily, Christian Turkey, Christian Armenia, Christian Italy, all before the First Crusade. The Crusades are a legitimate response to Islamic aggression and Islamic violence. I don't need to hear any lectures about the Crusades from people who support Islamic colonialism, Islamic imperialism, Islamic dominion and Arabization. Any other questions about any aspect of Christian history, Christian belief, Christian values, traditions? This is your opportunity. Any questions? Go on.
So you spoke about the Crusades.
Yep.
Is it the same situation with the slave trade? Because they use Christianity to convert Africans and then bring them along in ships to the Americas.
Okay.
What did Islam have to do with that?
So he asked the question,
What was the question?
what does Islam have to do with the slave trade?
Okay.
No. Wait,
wait.
no.
Yeah, I'm going to address your full question. I'm going to address your full question.
No, but we pay. But
Let's be clear. Before the European slave trade of the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s that happened in West Africa, the Islamic slave trade had existed in the Muslim world for nearly 14 centuries prior. For nearly, ladies and gentlemen, for nearly 11 centuries, Muslims had taken slaves across Africa, across Europe, and had taken them into the Muslim world. And all through the time that Europeans practiced slavery, for the full 300 years of the European slave trade, Muslims continued to practice their own slave trade. They continued to kidnap people from Europe. They continued to kidnap people from Indonesia, people from India, people from Afghanistan, people from Africa, and take them into the Islamic slave markets to trade them as slaves. They did this because Muhammad was a slave trader who bought slaves and sold slaves. Christians, however, have ended the slave trade multiple times at different parts of history, at different geographies around the world for the last 2,000 years. The most recent example was when William Wilberforce and the anti-slave traders convinced the British Empire, using Christian arguments, to end the British slave trade. The British Royal Navy then sacrificed blood and resources to end the slave trade around the world, including inside the Islamic world. Ladies and gentlemen,
50 years.
now notice, the Muslim that asked the question
Where is he?
didn't even bother to listen to the answer, because that's how they do it. They're not interested in what you've got to say. All that they want to do is try and make a polemical point, and then they're not interested in anything you have to say afterwards, because they don't like the truth. Why did Christians try to abolish the slave trade?
Why?
Because our example is Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ, in a time when slavery was normal, never had a slave, never bought a slave.
Amen. And if you guys have seen my previous videos, you guys know already how I feel about the Crusades, but honestly, they were such a blessing to humanity and society. And honestly, to be honest, I feel like today we actually need something of that liking. Maybe not exactly the Crusades, but if you get my gist, we definitely need something like that. Because I'm tired of this whole like culture of Christians who are like pacifist and are very anti-Crusades, because there was actually nothing in fact wrong with them at all. The Crusades were very much needed. It's unfortunate, and no one should like, you know, war or things of that nature, but sometimes it's unfortunately necessary in this carnal world. But when you look at the Crusades, if you look at what your history teachers have taught you, your liberal history teacher in middle school or high school, they probably told you that the Crusades were this very bad thing, and these white Christian men enforcing their prowess against these minority Muslim people in the middle of the sand desert. That is so far from the truth. The reality, and this is the real spin on the story, right? You have these Muslims, the Ottoman Empire, one of the most powerful empires throughout history. They were trying to world dominate the world. They wanted world domination, right? It even says it in their Quran. So this is nothing new, right? This isn't some kind of propaganda. They are very much known for trying to have world domination. That's why you see today in the Middle East, they persecute anyone who's not Islamic belief, right? Because they only want Islamic belief system. That's called world domination. So when you look at the Crusades, they were just a defense against the Ottoman Empire and world domination from Islam. That's literally all the Crusades were. It was Christians defending themselves from the satanic pagan religion called Islam. That's literally what it was. It was in defense of the Muslims, because the Muslims, what they would do is they would go to different countries, they would rape the woman in front of the husbands and the brothers, as they would kill them in front of the woman. And so it's like a very disgusting, vile religion, and the things they did were disgusting. And that's why they stood up with the Crusades, in order for them to protect humanity from being destroyed. So yes, the Crusades were very much needed, and the Crusades were very much a great thing. So we have to look at history unbiasedly. We can't just listen to what our liberal SJW teacher told us in school about it, right? Because if you listen to everything you're taught in school, you'll be very far from the truth, right? But yeah, you guys have to realize the Crusades were a really good thing, and I love everything that he said about this, because like you notice as the Muslim dude, as he was asking these questions, they weren't genuine, they were disingenuine, because as soon as he answered them, and he didn't answer them the way he wanted them to, because he's actually educated about the Crusades, right, he walked away. Because usually most Christians freeze up and they're like, oh, you know, the Crusades are, you know, that doesn't represent Christianity. No, the Crusades were actually a great thing. Most Christians don't know that because of the lack of knowledge on history. But the Crusades were a very great thing, and they were a blessing to humanity. So I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but I do love the way he worded this. Let me know what you guys think about the Crusades. Did you guys learn something new? Did you know that the Crusades were a good thing? Or, I mean, do you have conflicting opinions? If so, that's okay too, but I would love to hear your views on this. And yeah, please go ahead and subscribe, like this video, and share it with others that you guys think would be interested in this. And I hope y'all have a blessed day.